The road to adoption is long and difficult, even more so in international cases, a chaotic, dispiriting obstacle course where the outcome is never certain. In Vietnam, the 1993 Hague Convention on the Protection of Children came into force in 2012. Since then, all new applications are on hold. It's estimated there are 1.5 million orphans in the country, but it's impossible to be sure because only children at state orphanages are registered, and there are barely a dozen of those. There are 4 in Ho Chi Minh City, but many more private and even illegal establishments. Sylvie and Cédric have been lucky and they know it. The couple from a small village in eastern France succeeded in adopting their children Paul and Charlene within 5 years, having begun the process in Vietnam in 2008, before the new law came into effect. Though still emotionally fraught, it was ultimately a journey with a happy ending.
It is a long road. It doesn't just happen overnight. This isn't necessarily something you think about when you want to have a child, is it?
C'est vrai, mais l'enfant n'arrivait pas.
We couldn't have a child. Time passed and finally we decided to go for adoption because we were taking the medical route, being passive. We tried all the treatments. So we thought about adoption to be active, to take matters into our own hands. We said, there's a child born somewhere who needs a family, so why not become his parents? Even if it takes 5-6 years, we've been waiting for so many years anyway.
5 or 6 years on average, sometimes more, rarely less. Getting initial approval takes 9 to 10 months. Then comes the long wait, several years.
They gave us adoption approval. Then we waited for months and that was the hardest time. They'd found us a child, they gave us his identity, his age, and that was that, a child. But we still had to wait. We suffered all that waiting. It was hard, really suffering. We said, he's waiting for us, why can't we go and get him? No matter what state his health is in, he'd be better off with us. And we had no contact with the orphanage. None.
Sylvie and Cédric have only been to Vietnam twice, each time returning with a child. After months of waiting, they were suddenly given 3 weeks to come and collect their adopted children.
It was really emotional, because we didn't know the child, we'd never seen him, no photo. We didn't know what he looked like. There were lots of children in the room, and they said, here he is. So we didn't look anymore at the others. So they put him beside, and that was it. He was ours. It was magic.
They're kids, they're survivors. They're still there. They hang on despite being abandoned. That's where they get the strength when they meet their future parents.
There are lots of survivors in Vietnam, but few will have the good fortune of Paul and Charlene. Very likely they will spend their childhoods in this Ho Chi Minh back street, in this run-down building. When we meet them, they do seem to have an inner strength, a resolve and an immediate attachment to visitors. This is a private orphanage. Without state funding, it relies on the charity of the local community, its director of 16 years tells us.
Few of the orphanages have the permission, the license to raise the kids like here. Mostly they do it without the paper. They just take the kids and raise them. The difference between these and the state-run places is that they have the license to organise adoptions. Here it's private. It's unclear how many places like this there are in Vietnam and how many children grow up without families. Here the kids aren't adoptable, but even if they were, international adoption has become very limited since the new law came into effect in 2012.
One disturbing consequence of this has been an increase in the illegal adoption of children by foreign couples willing to pay to bypass the bureaucratic process.
Foreign couples usually come here just to visit. They know that when they want to adopt, they have to go other places. But yes, some come and try to buy children. I don't allow it. Other places do.
There's been a dramatic fall in the number of legal international adoptions since the new law. In France, there were 469 in 2010. In 2013, it was 89. The 70 children at this orphanage, which can't now offer adoption, will remain here. Its 5 staff are unqualified. 1 volunteer helper came from abroad. The children have mostly been abandoned.
It's the mothers who don't want them. Single mothers believe they won't get a husband if they have a child. Also, in Vietnam, if one parent dies and the other remarries, in general, the children of the first marriage end up in places like this.
Given the circumstances, wouldn't these children be better off adopted? Dominique Broncard is not so sure.
Adopted by who? By the Vietnamese? Are there lots of Vietnamese who are appropriate for adopting children? Or by foreigners? I know the Vietnamese. They're attached to their homeland. They hold on to their roots. And I don't know if they would do well far away.
The aim of the Hague Convention is to keep the child in their country of origin where possible. The under-3s can no longer be considered for international adoption. The result has been a fall of 36% in adoptions from the 5 main adopting countries. Yet in France, 10,000 adoption licenses are still approved every year.
What's happening today is that before adopting a child from a foreign country, the country will focus on adoption on home soil. So there's been a steady drop in adoptions for a number of years. Instead, the country puts forward older children, siblings, or children with special needs or disabilities. So we can see straight away what the French couples want, or at least the majority: babies in good health, which doesn't correspond with what the countries are offering.
A gulf has opened between what would-be adopters want and what authorities are allowing. Meanwhile, the number of children needing families grows.
I put myself in the place of the parents who want to adopt and for whom the door is closing. It's really sad. I don't know how the situation can change. Up to 2007 or 2008, we had 40 children here, so we knew them very well. With 70, you just can't take care of them as well.
And in countries like Vietnam, there's little hope children like these will be adopted by local couples.